I met a guy who had that same Porsche, and we bonded over that. And of course, that night, like that guy, he fucked my girl that night, you know, because we built the rapport.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We always strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy and positive approach to non-monogamy.
However, everyone approaches this a little differently, and at its core, our show is about hearing and learning from different experiences and approaches people have. With that in mind, it's important to remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily represent those of our own.
It's also important to remember that we aren't doctors or therapists and that we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on this show.
We should also let you know that this podcast will hopefully include some explicit language. So, if that kind of thing offends you, you should probably keep listening until it no longer does. If you're under 18, we'd suggest finding a different show or gather up your parents and listen as a family. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 35. We are Finn and Emma, and today we have an interview with a single guy. His name is Angus.
Well, at least he was single when we talked to him.
That's true. That could have changed. It's been a couple months.
Not a couple. Like a month.
Okay.
Or 3.
You don't remember.
No, it's been a bit. But we did talk to him recently via email. Everything is going great. He's super excited for this. We're super excited for this.
Yeah, it's awesome just to be able to share this episode.
One quick reminder. This wanted to just say, if you've been thinking like, oh man, I would want to share my story, but they wouldn't want to hear my story, you're wrong.
We want to hear all y'all's story.
All y'all's?
Yeah, I'm pretending I'm from the southern states for a little bit.
Oh, okay. It's good. It's a good strategy. Yeah, so if you're thinking about it, reach out. Everybody has something new and exciting to share, even if you think you're not unique, you are. So please reach out to us. That includes single people. That includes people in relationships. It includes everybody.
Good, you covered people in relationships and single people.
Yeah,
good job.
That's everybody. That's all of the people. One other quick thing I wanted to say. Oh, this discussion, we cover stuff ranging typically about like a cuckold and bull and hot wife dynamic. And this is mainly from the perspective of a bull. So if you listen to this and you're like, hey, my experience is different, I'm a cuckold, and that's not what I was feeling or thinking, send us an email and come on the damn show.
Are you assuming everyone knows what these terms mean?
I think so.
Okay, and well, we also talk about them in this episode.
Exactly. If they don't, they will as soon as they listen to the first 5 minutes of the interview, if we ever get there.
Okay. You're rambling.
I know. That's how I do. So tell them real quick our favorite places to send people for good information.
Yeah, so the first one is stdcheck.com. Please go there if you want to get a STD test done. You can get $10 off by using the link on our website. It's fast, it's quick, or that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's fast,
it's easy, it's easy. And we have loved using those services before. The other one is Cassidy. That you can also get a free 30-day trial by using the link on our website for that dating site, or leave us a review on any podcast platform and you can extend that to a 90-day.
I think we really got to work on our ad game.
Yeah, I know. I need to work on that.
Yeah. Do some practice. And you practice, I'll interview Angus, and we'll see you at the end.
Okay. Wait.
Oh, God.
You always forget. Our website is normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can find us on Twitter and Cassidy under the screen name NNM Podcast. Now let's go.
Go practice. We'll see you in...
I'll do my best.
1 hour.
Yeah, because like honestly, like one of the things, the real reason why I wanted to reach out to you guys too is because, you know, listening to some of these podcasts about the lifestyle, obviously it's very couple focused, which is it makes perfect sense. But I just don't feel like there's a whole lot of people talking to the bulls, and there's a lot of us out there, you know?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons we're really happy you reached out, is because, you know, we have had some single people, we've had some single women reach out, some single guys on the poly lifestyle, but nobody that is, you know, been on the bull side of it. So, I mean, do you mind talking a little bit about first of all, what that terminology means and what it means to you, and maybe if that's different than what it means to any of your friends in the lifestyle.
Yeah, I guess the general definition of a bull would be a black male who is in the lifestyle, typically single, although I've seen some black males that are coupled, also called bulls. But yeah, black male with, a large cock, to put it so lightly. But that's typically what a bull is, also known as a BBC, big black hawk.
We were curious about that term because, I mean, obviously we're familiar with it, but is that something that, do you prefer one or the other, or do you find one offensive? I know, there's a lot of politics and things wrapped up in that right now, and I'm just kind of curious on your perspective of it.
That is interesting. For me personally, I don't get offended by the term bull or BBC. But, I mean, yeah, you're right, especially in, with today's climate, I guess you could say. There is, it can be a little touchy for some people maybe. Because I think the way I look at it is, when it comes to, playing with a black male, that's a lot of people's fantasies. Typically, somebody who is not black, you know what I mean? Who's right. I want to play with a black male. And I know some people take that fantasy to, I've heard people who take that fantasy to a really, I don't want to say dark place, but just a very different place to where the N-word's being used during sex. And
maybe take it to an extreme that's not not needed.
But it's so interesting. For example, I have had that happen where I'm full on going at it, whoop de whoop, and then she was like, oh yeah, give me that, bleep cock, and it was kind of like a record stop, and I just and I'm just I'm like, what? In my brain, I'm like, am I offended? Am I not? But it was just done in such a way where it was clearly you're not trying to be offensive. It was just I don't know. But it did throw me off. So I don't know, couples, if you are listening, I definitely would discuss that with your bull first.
And that was
what they would prefer to be called.
Yeah. But typically bulls, at least, I don't know. Bulls typically, I don't think is going to be a big issue, But yeah, anything further than that, I would definitely consult with your local BBC.
Well, and that was something we were curious about too. Is I imagine there's a right way, or maybe not a right way. There's probably a wrong way to reach out to a bull or a BBC and ask for what you're looking for. Do you have some tips? And when you get a message from someone that you would look at that and say, yeah, no, these people are assholes versus, yeah, these people are respectful. And clearly that's what they want, but they know how to word it in such a way that it's not offensive.
And you know what, to be truly honest with you, I haven't really ran into that as an issue because, and this is not to sound cocky about it, but when a couple reaches out to me, or at least here in Los Angeles, again, I feel like other places could be slightly different, but in Los Angeles, when I do play with a couple, they damn near almost worship you in a sense. So you know what I mean? You're the king if you come around. Because usually I play with a lot of couples where the guy's a cuck,
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of as a bull, you have to you really are kind of the, how should I say? The alpha in the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're the dominant presence, I think.
Exactly. So as far as necessarily having a lot of offensive stuff, I don't run into it. Like I said, even with that one couple that I did play with where the N-word did come out, it was, I was getting her from doggy style from behind and it just came out and she wasn't trying to be you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. It wasn't,
right.
I wasn't offended. It was just kind of shocking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But typically, honestly, I haven't had any disrespect. I haven't run into that. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure other bulls have run into it, but I haven't run into it. But
that's good to hear. I mean, that's a good thing that you haven't run into it.
It's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing. A lot of times they're just trying to have that fantasy, but
have that fantasy fulfilled.
Yeah.
Just to back up for a second, you mentioned that the other males tend to be cucks. Can you explain that terminology for any listeners that may not know what that is?
Yeah, so basically, like a cuck would be somebody who. How do you describe a cuck? A guy who's just not.
It's hard. I know.
Well, and I think it's going to differ for different couples, right? What does that mean? And maybe you could explain what it has looked like for the people you've met with. So maybe you're not defining the term, but define it in what you've experienced.
Yeah.
So there's a few subcategories of cucks. The one that I run into a lot would be where, let's say, a couple. For example, I've had one couple. The guy was like, I want to say like 46, something like that, but his wife was like 38 or something like that. So there's a little bit of an age gap, and he just wasn't pleasing her as well as she wanted. And so he was just like, he would basically want somebody to come in, just to get it out of his wife's system, so to speak. Just come in, bang it out. She's satisfied, she's good for another couple weeks, and then But and then there's another type of cuck where, yeah, he probably fucks good or whatever, but they want, like, for example, I mean, there was one time there was a couple, like, the guy was a cop, and he was like when you talk to him like outside of that, this guy is the alpha. I even thought more alpha than myself. I was like, wow, this guy, But it was kind of like he wanted that role reversal. You know what I mean? So that was another type of cuck that I run into, where it's like
it's more of a fantasy. It's not there's anything lacking. It's just that's the role that they want.
Yeah, he wants to play a less dominant role, and he wants to see someone come in and be the dominant person in the bedroom that's not him.
Exactly, and so that's why it's kind of hard to define, because it's like, how do you define that when there's so many nuances to each individual couple? I've run into so many scenarios. I've run into couples where the guy's not even a cup. The guy just wants to fuck with you. He's like, yeah, come on in. Like, we're all gonna fuck her. It's not like it's not like that he's sitting in the corner jerking off. But I have seen a guy in a cage once, and that was, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, really? Wow, she let you lock you up like that? Because I mean, as a bull, like as a guy who is a bull, like I would never have my dick put in a cage. That was I can't fathom it. Like, I just can't even understand why. But that's what they like. No judgments.
Right?
Exactly.
So one of the things we were curious about was, how did you get into this, at the beginning, and maybe is your personality, is it a more dominant personality, or is this like a character you play when you get into the bedroom with couples?
Okay, that's two questions. Let me break one down. I'll start with the role. Am I dominant? I do consider myself a bit dominant, but like, I definitely know that there's more dominant people than me. Mm-hmm. But I am I am pretty tall, so I do, like, when I come into a room, people notice me, and I notice that, so I know I have like alpha tendencies. But but with that being said, it is kind of a role for me. Like, I am playing a role, because typically, honestly, like, my vanilla dating, I'm typically kind of known as a nice guy, But with that being said, when I am kind of participating in the lifestyle, I'm able to kind of act out another side where I am.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, when I am walking, and we've all discussed everything. I'm going to meet this couple or a single lady or whoever, I walk in like I'm the shit, because I am,
Yeah, you have to have that confidence.
Yeah, and they want that. That's what they want, So I go in, and I am playing a role, but it is kind of like more like it's not who I am every day, I guess.
So I was gonna say, you don't walk around the world thinking that you own all the bitches. You're just
yeah. I do not walk around the world like that. But to answer your second question, how did I get into this? This is a little bit of not a long story, but an interesting story, I guess you could say. But I actually started out in the lifestyle. I've been in the lifestyle since 2005.
Okay. And I guess from some context, do you mind an age range of how old you are?
I'm 32.
Okay.
So I started kind of young. I was dating some girl in college. I started out as a couple. Not as a bull, but I started as a couple, and the girl I was dating at the time, she, I guess, started to develop, or want to experiment with girls. She wasn't sure if she was bi or not. She wanted to kind of explore that. And, finding a single chick is, especially, and keep in mind, this is like 05, 06. At that time, this is like MySpace. There was no, nowadays you have, all these different websites and apps and stuff like that. It wasn't like that, which is interesting because I've seen how the lifestyle progressed from the time, how technology has entered the lifestyle and how it changed it. But back then, really finding like a single chick was just so difficult. At least I didn't know how to do it, and neither did she. So we would typically look for couples where the chick was also bi, and we would do like soft swaps or like, girl on girl and stuff like that. So we did that for a while, and then eventually we kind of got more comfortable with, doing full swap, and we were in the lifestyle together. We did that for like a good 2 years, and we enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I'm the type of person where when I get involved in something, I get so analytical about it, where I want to understand how it works, take it apart, figure out what makes it work. And so I really I don't want to say interviewed a lot of couples, but like I would always ask couples, like questions like, how are you guys doing this? Or, like trying to understand them, because everybody's so different. And I really developed a good appreciation for the lifestyle as far as like it's a couples, because a lot of the couples I met in the lifestyle were so happy. But at the same time, to play devil's advocate, I have seen a lot of people crash and burn. I always say, new couples coming into this, I always tell them it's better to, instead of diving in head first, it's better to just take the steps and get your feet wet first to see if you like it. Because if you don't like it, you can just get out, and it's not like, it's just easier. Because I've seen it. But but with that being said, I've seen couples that have been doing this for years, and they were very happy, and I picked up on that.
Yeah. So well, it must have been interesting too, because you started as a couple, and so you got to see that all as a couple, yourself and interacting with all those other couples out there.
Exactly. So even at 2 years, we actually would play with single guys. I actually thought those threesomes were fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. I've met a lot of cool guys who we would connect, and next thing you know, we're just having a cool threesome. And we got into this because my girl was bi, but we progressed in the lifestyle to the point where we're having threesomes with even just another male. But fast forward, we ended up breaking up, not because of the lifestyle. Just want to throw that out there. It wasn't because of the lifestyle. It was other. Actually, I had to move because I finished college at the time, and I wasn't getting work at that location where she was at, and she was going to college, so she couldn't move. So it was kind of like, we don't see a way out of this, and we were young. I moved, and I moved back to LA essentially. And after like about 6 months, I actually got hit up from a couple that I had played with before as a couple. They hit me up, like, hey, aren't you back in LA? And I was like, yeah, I'm in LA. And they're like, we're going to be at the Staples Center seeing a show. We have a hotel. Meet us after the show. The show ends around 11:30 or something like that. Have a drink and come back to the room. I'm like, sure. And that was the first time that I played as a single male myself.
So it kind of almost just fell in your lap there. Like they just invited you.
Literally.
Well, yeah. Well, they knew me. They knew me and my girl at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We had played. But
yeah, so you were already a trusted entity.
Exactly. So when they were like, hey, I think he's back in LA. So they hit me up.
Right.
And of course I was down. So that was my first experience as playing as a single male. From there, that's when I started learning as far as okay, there are couples who are looking for that. Because coming from being in the lifestyle as a couple, I understand how bombarding it could be if you put an ad out or try to look for a single guy, because there's a ton of them, and you really are looking for a needle in a haystack. And I get how some guys are just either they don't get it, or they're just not, they're assholes or dicks or whatever, like a lot of single guys. For every 10 single guys you talk to, there'll be that one who's like, okay, this guy's cool, you just get a dick pic immediately or some stupid shit,
Yeah.
But because of the fact that I started as a couple, I understood what couples are looking for.
Yeah.
So I actually found it pretty interesting and was able to really communicate with couples who are looking for a single male without necessarily coming off as like too thirsty or just some guy who's there to fuck his wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So
it made it easy.
Having been in that position, and maybe there's single guys out there listening that aren't in a relation. Obviously, if they're single, they're not in a relationship, or haven't been in that relationship side of it. what are some tips you would have for them in terms of navigating this, maybe to have a little more success?
So it's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to answer that question. But with that being said, I actually even kind of played with the idea of starting my own podcast to answer some of these questions, because I could go on all day. But yes, bulls, if you are listening, or single guys, or even just couples, whoever, if you are listening, there is a right way and a wrong way to do this. Rule number one, and I'm just going to get this one out of the way. Do not just send a dick pic right away like that. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. You know,
just wait a few, like 5-10 minutes.
No, not honestly. To be truly honest with you, like when I message people, I don't even really bring up sex like that. You know, I show them what I look like, but after like a little, I get to know them a little bit, but.
Well, you want to demonstrate to them that you're a human being and you're like a normal person, because that's what's going to gain their trust in you, rather than dick pics and just like straight up talking about sex. Sure, that conversation's fun and sexy, but establish a little bit of the trust first, I would think.
100%. But and also too, I mean, to add to that, I feel like, because I remember when I was in that position, the first day I'm talking to a couple, I'm not really trying to appeal to the woman. I'm trying to appeal to the males, because I'm just feeling like if I was a guy and I have my girl, I'm not just gonna let any guy who's just throwing up a bunch of random cock pics come over and fuck my girl. I'm not even gonna invite him to my house. Like, You really want to kind of like build up a rapport with the guy. That way he gets the trust where he's like, yeah, come into my house or meet us up, and then here's my wife or my girlfriend or whatever. You really want to get the guy's trust first.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really good advice, because I mean, we have looked for single males in the past, and I will say 9 times out of 10, not that there's been 9 of them, but approximately percentage-wise, the ones that we have picked were the ones who interacted with both of us and were curious about both of us, and it wasn't just, hey, sexy, what's, whatever.
Right.
Talking to Emma, it was, hey, you guys are a couple, and here, and so I think that's spot on advice. I like that.
Yeah. I always, and again, I'm not necessarily talking like sexually or like, flash him a dick or hey, what you wearing, boo, 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 none of that. I'm really just getting to know him, talking like a normal person, like at a bar, like, hey, you obviously not asking too much detail, like, what do you do for a living, but, just getting to know them, getting to know the guy if he's into certain sports. For example, I actually had this, a 1980s Porsche that I was kind of like driving around at the time. And I had met a guy when I was in a relationship. I met a guy who had that same Porsche. And we bonded over that. And of course that night, like that guy, he fucked my girl that night, because we built a rapport. And I was like, oh, wow, you got that? We're talking, we're hanging out. Next thing you know, we're drinking, having a good time. And but like, it's that. You really want to get the guys, you want to get the boyfriend or the husband to like you. Because ultimately, even if the girl likes you, if the guy's not feeling your vibe, you're not fucking his girl. I guarantee it. I promise you, you're not going to fuck his girl.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty good advice.
Yes, I agree.
Other advice, honestly, like, again, I'm in Los Angeles. There are a lot of bulls out here. You are selling yourself to an extent. You got to be a little bit of a salesperson. And with that being said, pretty sells. I'm not going to, I don't want to sugarcoat it, but at the same time, I don't want to judge people, because I understand that everybody comes in different body shapes and sizes and whatever. But I always tell people, or the few guys who I have kind of coached to get into it, I always tell them, like, you don't have to necessarily be a Ken doll, but you should put effort into your appearance and how you're perceived from people who see you. So you don't have to necessarily be like the skinniest guy, but I tell people, it's like, why not hit the gym a couple times? Because honestly, when I hit the gym, I fuck better anyways, because I get that testosterone pumping. So it's gonna help
you feel better.
You feel better. But at the same time, like, I see guys who don't really put a lot of effort and they're struggling. And I'm like, well, there's you, but then there's this other prettier bull. Even there's so many guys, especially like, I mean, Craigslist is gone. Rest in peace, Craigslist, the good old days. But if a couple puts an ad out, they're gonna get 100 emails in a couple hours. Like, how are you gonna stand out?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna send a cock pic and be like, "What's up?" No, you gotta like really put effort. And I tell guys that even if you're on like Tinder, you gotta put effort in the messages. You gotta put effort in the way you look, how your pictures are. You gotta put effort in all that.
Yeah.
You don't, like I said, you don't have to be a Ken doll, but you just put effort. I don't know. That's advice. And then don't let this become like a rabbit hole where, like, I've seen guys get carried away because some people are like, "Oh, I can't believe it," like, I'm in an orgy, and I see it hits that dopamine for some people so good where it's like they just can't, like, they're doing this every night. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've seen people go down like some serious rabbit holes. It's almost like they get addicted. But
yeah.
I
it almost like takes over your life.
Well, not only, yeah, it does, but to a point where I felt this myself a little bit, and I had to force myself to limit how often I'm really playing the lifestyle. I still, I would sometimes feel where it's like I feel more comfortable talking to couples or women in the lifestyle than I do outside of it. In other words, I still want to keep my vanilla chops up. Like, if I'm in a bar, I still want to be able to communicate with a single pretty lady, Yeah. But I've seen some guys where it's like they get so into it, so deep, where they don't even want to go to a bar to talk to chicks. Like, no, I know a party over here. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't know. I always tell people, don't let it become like an every weekend thing. Kind of limit it.
I was curious, do you think that your ability to navigate this lifestyle and communicate with women and couples in this lifestyle has improved your ability to navigate the vanilla dating and world of sex and all of that? Or has it not really impacted it at all?
I would say the opposite. I would say keeping your vanilla chops up will help you with the lifestyle, because it's harder to talk to somebody. Like, if I'm at a bar, I'm at a lounge or whatever, it's harder to talk to somebody because you don't really know much about them. But I mean, if you're at like a swinger party or you're on a swinger website, you at least kind of like know, like, okay, well, they're sexually open. I get that.
Yeah.
And so
there's a level of implied interest.
Exactly. Exactly. Great way to put that. Yeah. So I think still keeping your vanilla chops up is good, and that helps you in the lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I'll be at a bar and I'll see, let's say there's two girls and a guy, and they're all kind of huddled around talking. I know, for example, that guy's probably dating one of them, but one of those chicks is a roommate. One of those chicks is a sister. But I could go into that little group, make friends with the guy, practice that, which I take it to the lifestyle. The guy now trusts me, and then I'm kind of like asking, so how do you all know each other? He's like, oh yeah, that's my girlfriend, that's her roommate. Boom, there's your target right there, and now you're in. You already know which one. You're not offending the guy by hitting on his girl.
Or you get lucky and you go home with all of them.
You know what? Maybe. The lifestyle's becoming so, I would even say mainstream in a sense, that, yeah, that could happen, That definitely could happen. But
so
I don't know. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I would say in your, so now I guess you are doing vanilla dating as well as lifestyle dating. When you, I guess, meet people for the first time, are you upfront? I'm assuming of kind of what your interests are and what you've done, and how has that impacted your vanilla dating? Well,
if I'm in a relationship in the vanilla world, the swinging world comes to a pause.
Yeah.
But as far as like, if I'm dating or meeting somebody in the vanilla world, I kind of feel them out, but typically I keep them very separate. I have once told a girl that I've done this, and it didn't go over so well. So, but that, I kind of keep them separate. None of the girls I've ever dated in the vanilla world really know about the swinging of the bull lifestyle or any of that. But
right.
But with that being said, to be truly honest with you, like lately I've been kind of like feeling like maybe the vanilla world, or honestly I think maybe I want to date somebody who's also interested in non-monogamy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or at least sexually open-minded.
Yes. Instead of having it be so separated, or because I've had it where it's like years of doing this, I've seen things, you know what I mean? I've been part of things, and then you go to a vanilla relationship, and I'm not gonna say it's boring, but sometimes you just kind of like, hey baby, put this on. She's like, nah, not interested. And I'm like, really? You won't even put that on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
would you consider being in the lifestyle with a partner moving forward?
Yes, definitely. Because I started with that.
Right.
I started with that. So I definitely could see myself doing that. In fact, I could see myself doing that more now than I did then, because at the time when I was doing it in a relationship, I did that for 2 years. And I was trial and error. I was learning. But now I've been a bull longer now.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of like, I know what I want. I've experienced a bunch of things. I kind of see what works with couples. And I kind of have more of like a fine-tuned idea. Like, this is how I want it to work, or things like that. So, I think it'll maybe, hopefully, next one will be non-monogamous.
Right.
To some degree. But I'm not a poly person. I'm not poly.
Okay.
I'm a swinger. I definitely have more like swinger tendencies. It's not so much like I don't necessarily share emotion, but I will share like physical, like, the sex,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you identify as bisexual, or you identify as straight? And I guess my question stems from, in the situations when you have threesomes, how do you negotiate that?
Well, and maybe to build on that, to back up to the cuckold label, we are aware that there are cuckolds out there who are interested in part of the dominance by another guy is some type of bi play or bi adjacent. I don't know the best way to say it. So,
right.
Is that something you've come across, or how do you navigate that?
I come across that. Yeah, I definitely come across that. Me personally, I'm straight. Yeah, I definitely identify as straight. I play straight. I have had it. Well, some couples will definitely ask. A lot. It kind of just varies, but I have had where some guys want to like clean off my penis after it's been like, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I've had that. That was more for them than it was for me, though. I didn't really get enjoyment from it, but I don't know. I try to keep an open mind, but as far as like actually penetrating another guy or being penetrated by another guy, none of that I'm really into. Anything like that, or I'm not gonna put a cock in my mouth personally.
Right. But it sounds like if the other guy was like, hey, I want to do this to you, maybe prep you for her or clean you up afterwards, like that's something maybe it's not your thing, but you're happy to at least oblige.
Yeah, that's exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And I do get asked that from time to time, but
I think that's cool that that you're open-minded enough to at least let stuff like that happen. I know there's a lot of guys out there who would get mad and run out of the room if that kind of thing came up. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I've had threesomes where it's like the guy wasn't a cuck. He's actively involved in the sex and everything, and it's like it's so hard to really like avoid contact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's incidental contact's going to happen.
At least if you want to do it right.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So I'm not like necessarily like a homophobe when it comes to that, but I just know that I don't get turned on, or I don't have the desire to put a cock in my mouth.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, we were curious too. When you meet other couples, have you started to develop like ongoing relationships with certain couples, or do you typically meet one couple and then that's the last time you see them? Or I guess what does that sort of look like for you?
It's typically longer term. Typically, mostly I've had a couple where it was just kind of like you meet once and you're out, but that was typically because either I didn't vibe with them, or maybe I don't know, I was like traveling or something like that. Like it would be like certain circumstances. But if they are in my local area, I typically go for longer term. Usually, lasts for a few months and then it kind of fizzles out. You know? But yeah, it's usually more of like a long-term meet a couple times a month type of thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you had a kind of a more, I guess, somewhat of a taboo more question? Have you had people ask you to play without protection? And I know that can be a really big fantasy, especially with the bull fantasy. And how have you handled that?
Great question. So with that being said, first off, and if there are bulls listening, there are so many places you can get tested for absolutely free. One of the things I like is gotta give it to the LGBTQ community, because they have all these little clinics set up where you can just walk in for free and get tested, and I do, and they don't care. And so I get tested regularly. I typically will have results with me, paperwork in hand, no more than like 3 months old, especially depending on my play frequency, but I like to keep it at around 3 months. Because yes, I do get asked, especially since I do play with couples more long term. The first time you're going to use protection, of course, but sometimes I do get couples where they like that whole cream pie cleanup, you know?
Yeah.
They want, and so they get their results. I have mine. If everything's legit like that, then yeah, I don't necessarily mind going bareback. But I guess with that, obviously being in this lifestyle, you do have to accept a bit of risk. It's just how you want to manage that, and that's just how I manage it. I get tested free. Like I said, the every city has like a little area where it's like, LGBTQ or whatever, and at least in LA,
Right. When I wanted to mention too, you are in California, which it is different. I know it's different in other states, but there are facilities out there. It is easy. You can get tested on a frequent basis. So,
and I think it's cool too that it sounds like it's something you do, but it's a very intentional thing. It's something you think through, you handle it in a responsible way. And when you do it, it's because you wanted to, not just because you're doing it with everybody you meet because, that's the way you do it. So I think that's really respectable. And I think it's amazing to hear like that you're getting tested every couple of months.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome.
Yeah, I do that. It's really no big, I guess if it's free, like I know I wouldn't want to go to my doctor. It'd be embarrassing to talk to my own doctor. But like, something about the going to like the clinics at the gay community, I feel more open and just like I tell the guys, he asked me how often do you have sex and how many partners? I answer that honestly. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel more comfortable going there. I feel like there's just no judgment, where I can really be honest and get ask questions and really get real answers versus if you're talking to like a doctor you've known for years and stuff like that. Maybe it could feel uncomfortable. So I always tell people, find your local LGBTQ community, or I hope I'm saying the acronym right. I know it changes from time to time, but
I think if anybody's listening and is taking that out of context and getting offended, then they need to reevaluate. It's you're clearly trying to give them a lot of credit for what they've helped pioneer. So I think that's commendable, whether or not you have all the letters in the acronym.
Yeah, it's completely free. And so I do that. But also, too, with that being said, like I said, you're trying to sell yourself. Like if a couple puts an ad out, they got like 100 emails, and they've narrowed that 100 emails down to 25, and then they narrowed that 25 to like 5, and then they've probably narrowed that 5 to like the top 3. At that point, if you have test results, paperwork, even if they don't want to play bareback, that just puts you, that's like the bonus. You know what I mean? That's like, okay, this guy's responsible. It just says a lot.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Well, if you're listening, like, just get it done. You know what I mean? I know sometimes it could be intimidating, and I personally hate needles, but it's
to grin and bear it.
Yeah, grin and bear it. But also too, like the play is more satisfactory when you don't have that stress. You know what I mean?
Because you it automatically gives a little bit more trust, or a lot more trust in the people you're playing with, and it takes down that little bit of uncertainty that you might have in the back of your mind.
Right.
Yeah. And on the flip side, do you lean towards playing with couples more when they're able to present you back the same respect that you've given to them with, recent test results? Or have you turned people down because of not having them?
I won't necessarily turn them down, but I'll be reluctant to do bareback. If it's like, let's say I'm playing with a couple, I got to know them and I kind of get their vibe, and let's say it's been like 2 months, sure. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of just varies, but typically right off the bat, if they don't have the paperwork, then no, we're definitely going to play safe,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
So I had a couple other fun questions.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Some new ones we've been introducing, and then maybe some that are specific to your situation. So have you, in the past 10 years, maybe one of your top 1 or 2 favorite bloopers from the lifestyle? I think
funny stories.
it sort of helps people realize that everything doesn't go perfect all the time, and that it's still good fun to have.
I do have a story. I have a funny story. There was this guy. That was early on. I was at this party. This is a house party, and there was this guy. It's so funny if he's listening to this, but he goes by the name Manaconda. Okay, look, this guy. This was, to this day, the biggest dick I have ever seen. To the point where he swung, not making this up, he swung it around like a rope, like a lasso. Like he would grip the base of his cock and swing it. And I'm like, what the fuck? So anyways, but the problem is though, he kind of had he was short and he was like a Flavor Flav type of looking guy. Like his main asset was his cock. That was his claim to fame. And he had this like bodyguard, not a bodyguard, but like a bouncer or whatever, like a groupie or whatever. I don't know. So anyways, I'm at this party. I couldn't get no play because this guy was fucking all the wives. All of them. I mean, it was, I damn near almost left. I was like, Manaconda's got them all. He had a line of girls. Literally, he was in this room. He had a bodyguard. This guy was manned the door. And he would just take them in like one by one, and I was like, I don't even believe what I'm seeing. Like I'm sitting there just having a cocktail. I'm like, okay, like this is happening, And yeah, needless to say, I didn't really. I mean, I had a little fun, but it wasn't like he was the main attraction, clearly.
Yeah.
Manaconda. I couldn't even tell you how many inches or feet this thing was. It was big.
So along those same lines, have you come across, and I would imagine there's a lot of women listening that would say, yeah, no way, that shit's never getting near me. But I guess, have you ever been in the situation where the couple had this fantasy and then when they got into the situation, like it was too big or it wasn't what they were expecting? Maybe there was jealousy or it went awry.
You mean, so like the guy was jealous of my cock?
That or you got into the situation and the lady realized like that she wanted this, but it wouldn't fit and it was more painful than it was pleasurable.
Like honestly, like petite girls, I don't typically go for them because of that. Like if you're real small, kind of like a small, super skinny frame or whatever, not really my type. But we got some chicks out here in LA with some thick thighs and asses, and they're just looking for that. So, I mean, you know what I mean? There's you just know which kind of girl's into this. It's like, okay, she's not gonna. But then you see other girls, you're like, she's down. There's some girls that can handle a cock, and then there's just some girls that can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, I think it all comes down to body anatomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's like little small, like 4 foot whatever girls, and you're like, okay, like,
yeah,
I already know. I want to impale you. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and you don't want to intentionally hurt anybody either. So
I hope we get hate mail that says like, fuck you, I'm 3'5" and I'll take Manaconda all day long.
Hey, look, if you are 3 foot whatever or 4 foot whatever, and you could take a dick and you're in LA, shit. hey, we'll make it work, you know. But typically, yeah, you know. And luckily, again, being in LA, I mean, there's not a shortage of females. There's not a shortage of females, and there's so many. Like, if that chick doesn't want it, the next one does. You know, it's not like a big deal. But as far as like a guy getting jealous, no, actually, I've had guys go, holy shit, and wow. And honestly, I do not even think I'm that big of a cock. Like, I don't think I have that big of a cock, but I don't know. I'm no Manaconda, but I've had a girl even say she likes the weight of my cock, and I was like, that's a new one. That's a new one.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it's got a good weight. Do you list the weight on your profile?
I do not list the weight. I don't even know how much it weighs. Funny story, I don't even know the exact inches because, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's so weird to put like a measuring tape against your cock. Like, what am I doing? Yeah.
I use Coke cans, so I'm like a 1.5 Coke can.
Oh, I never saw you do that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Maybe I should try that.
It's those little airplane size ones.
The airplane. Oh, jeez.
Oh, the ones
a little more credit.
But I've had girls. One girl swore. She swore. So this has to be 9 inches. I was like, okay, if you say so. But I mean, I don't know.
So, are you out to any of your friends and family that this is something you do? No?
This is completely separate. But I feel like that's what makes swinging fun. In fact, I've listened to some of your previous podcasts, you've asked the same question, and people are like, oh, yeah, I told my parents, and I told my... I was like, why? It's in your bedroom, for one. It's none of their business. But also, too, like, having that secret lifestyle, that secret, like, thing, that's what makes it fun, to me.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, to be really honest with you, one thing about swinging, and I've learned this from even just doing this in the past as a couple, you want to be able to turn this whole thing off if you want to. Because you never know. Maybe you and your partner are going through a rough time. Maybe just not in the fucking mood. You know, like, honestly, frequency's never been my thing. You know, I'm not trying to have sex every day. Jesus. But I like to just be able. So I got work too, you know. So I want to be able to turn all this off, and I don't want like my lifestyle friends and shit creeping into my vanilla shit, because sometimes I just want to like come home, relax, or have a friends, or go meet up with my vanilla friends and just hang out, not think about this. But then sometimes I do, you know?
Yeah.
So my mood changes, so I don't want to necessarily live it. In fact, to be really honest with you, I don't like the fact that we call this a lifestyle, because at least for me, I'm not necessarily trying to make this my lifestyle, you know? Right. And I have air quotes, you can't see that, but this is just something I turn on for some weekends and I turn off when I'm Monday back at work, you know?
Well, and it sounds like you kind of demonstrated that when you said if you get into a relationship with somebody, you just kind of put it on pause, and it doesn't sound like you sit there craving it every day because you're in a relationship. You're not out with all these other people. Right.
Exactly. You know, like exactly. So I don't come out to my friends. I don't come out to my family. I don't see the need to do that. It's in my bedroom. It's none of their business. This is my life. You know, like.
Have you had to make up some elaborate excuses ever to like for where you're going or anything like that?
Maybe in the past, but typically I don't know, if I'm going somewhere, again, like, it's my life.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going somewhere, like, they don't need to know. I'm going out.
Yeah.
Where are you going? I'm going out. You know, I'm just going out, or I'll just make something up. But yeah, I'm not. I keep it very separate. And if I do go to a party, it's like a party that I plan on going like a couple weeks in advance. So it's already like that, you know, like, it's not like everything's already been taken care of, you know?
Right.
It's an event. It's something I like to look forward to. And I feel like a lot of couples should do that too. I feel like I remember when I was doing this as a couple, it'd just be like an every weekend thing. And I feel like that was wrong of us. We should have made it where it's like, this happens once or twice a month. We look forward to it. We plan it. And then when it comes. And then once it's gone, we look forward to the next one, versus it being like you're every Saturday night, you know? Because then it no longer becomes special, you know? It becomes mundane.
Right.
When you do go to the parties, I know there's a lot of, controversy, maybe is a strong word, around single males and parties, and there's typically an imbalance in your price is double or triple or whatever versus a couple versus a single female. How do you navigate, getting invited to parties or getting on guest lists? Because I know that can even be a challenge. And
it may be different in LA.
Right. Yeah. So how does that look for you on a... Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Going to first of all, I don't go to those parties. See, I feel like, there's just a different set of parties, like a typical swinger party. Yeah. A guy would have to pay twice as much and all this other junk. Not at all. I go to parties specifically where there's a ton of single chicks and a bunch of single males, and that's what they're looking for. So shout out to the kick groups, by the way. The kick groups is where you find those parties. Now that Craigslist is gone, the kick groups has definitely been a huge resource. I'm a member in some groups, and literally it's just a bunch of unicorns and a bunch of bulls. That's all it is.
And for someone who... go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
And then they throw parties. So it's like, you don't pay like no more than like the typical, like what, $40,
Right.
Yeah. For someone who's interested in finding some of those kick groups, like how would you suggest doing that? Or
is it like an invite only, or?
It is. Yeah. It is very invite only, which is what I like, though. But because a kick group, I think only have 50 people in it. Yeah. So they're very small, which I like too, because you get to know everybody in the group. In fact, the interesting thing, having been in this lifestyle for so long, like I said, I started before back in 2005, where the iPhone wasn't even invented yet.
Yeah. Yep.
to now, before it was, like I said, it was very difficult to find people who were into this. In fact, I didn't even know other people were. I figured that other people were, but how do you find them? It was so difficult. But to now, with the kid groups, they build communities of people where it's like everybody in the group. Everybody in the group. You talk daily. You hang out. Yada yada yada. And then usually there'll be non-play events where they maybe like a happy hour meet after work. Because typically the kick groups are, I shouldn't say typically, but most of the kick groups are very localized. So it'll be like, oh, this is for whatever in LA. So everybody's kind of within your area. Although with LA traffic, even if you're on the other side of LA, it's a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so with those groups, have you developed some true friendships in the? I know you don't like to call it a lifestyle, but in the community.
You know what? There are some people. It's funny if they listen to this podcast, I'll know exactly who I'm talking to. But there are some people who I've developed true friendships with, where even outside of the lifestyle, they are like really good friends of mine. And that's one thing about this lifestyle that I think, seeing how it's evolved from then to now, I think it's going in a very good direction. Because honestly, I like now going to a party where I know everybody's face, or at least have some type of rapport with them. I know everybody here. There's 50 people in a kick group. You throw a hotel party, at least like 15, 20 of them will show, So,
yeah.
But these people. You've seen them before. And it just makes it so much fun because everybody knows each other now. It's not like a bunch of random faces. Although there may be like one or two that, you don't know or whatever. But typically speaking, everybody here
Yeah.
And I like that. I love that about it.
Well, it's a more comfortable environment.
Very much more comfortable. And every guy, well, it's kind of funny to me, because every guy, when I go to these parties, every guy in there's black. They're bulls, But all the girls are looking for to play with bulls, so it makes it really nice. So even if you're not a bull, you can find a kick group that really caters to who you are and what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. And It could be a small knit community. But that is a double-edged sword, because there is drama sometimes in these kick groups, which I won't go deep in on, but sometimes it can be some high school drama. But all in all, I think it's a very positive direction, I think, especially now that Craigslist is gone.
Right.
Another resource, a lot of people don't know this, but Tumblr is crazy. I love Tumblr. I don't even really fuck with any other social network, to be really honest with you. Tumblr is the shit, I meet a lot of swingers and a lot of other people there.
Huh.
Yeah,
Exactly. Everybody has that same reaction.
Yeah,
See,
I wouldn't have thought that.
Here's the thing. Tumblr is it's a blogs, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's unpoliced. So you can post news. It's not like Instagram where, you get your shit taken out. People post some. You should see my Tumblr. I'll give you guys my Tumblr. My Tumblr is fucking filthy, okay? I mean, I cannot open that app in public. Seriously. I just can't.
And are they people you actually know in real life, or is it just
some? I've met people in Tumblr. I've met people from Tumblr.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've met people from Tumblr. But yeah, I mean, so those are two resources I use. Now that Craigslist is gone, bulls, couples, single, whatever, whoever you are, if you are looking, those are two resources I recommend. And then of course, there's Cassidy and SLS and other things like that.
Yeah.
But I know
bonus on the kit group is you can make sure Manaconda's not going to be at your party. So
hey, you know what though? That was so long ago. If he was, I would probably show up just
to watch.
To be there, just to watch. Just be like, wow, he's still doing it. He's still doing it. And that guy, he had to have been like 40 something. He had to have been 40 something. But he was in there slinging the dick like a lasso. He would get him. He would take your wife.
That's hilarious.
I guess so. Before we start to wrap up too much, is there anything that you were hoping we would ask, or that you wanted to make known about the community and the BBC and the Bulls that maybe we didn't touch on yet, that you were hoping to let people know?
You know what? I thought about this too, because I know as soon as we get off, I'll be like, oh, I wish you guys had, but
that always happens, right?
I know, right? I would say, I feel like I kind of touched upon, if you are a bull, and if you're listening and you're a bull, or you want to be a bull, or whatever, I kind of already touched up a little bit as far as, the do's and don'ts. But if you're looking for a bull, Tumblr, again, is a great resource. But the one thing about Tumblr is hard to localize it. It's hard to really, you have to almost get not lucky, but it's really difficult to say I want somebody within, like, let's say 5 miles. So maybe that's where more like Cassidy or something like that will come into play. But but I know that the thing is, like, a lot of people don't want to pay, especially if they're trying it out. But I know I think you guys have like a code, you get like 60 days.
I was to say, you can go and sign up on our link on our website for a free trial with Cassidy.
So especially with Craigslist being gone, I would go into a whole thing about Craigslist, because you have to really know how to navigate that. You really have to know how to navigate that. But it's gone. It's gone, But
did you use Craigslist?
Craigslist. Yeah. If you know how to do it right, there's a lot of crazy on there. At least there was. But if you can get a feel for what's genuine and what's not, especially that coupled with Kick. Like, I wouldn't just necessarily, here's my phone number, call me. No. You gotta give them your Kick, and then you gotta feel them out. And you can kind of tell. But as a guy searching on Craigslist, like, there's obviously picture collectors trying to collect a dude's pic, but it's harder for a woman to look on Craigslist, obviously. They're trying to get your pictures. But the funny thing is, honestly, I've talked to a few chicks because you see that the section where there's be a single female looking for like a dude, and you're thinking, that's just got to be all fake. I've met some chicks that have actually posted, and I was like, so girls actually were posting in there, and I was like,
Craigslist,
yeah. But from the woman searching for a dude, which is, I always thought all fake shit. I was like, everything in here is fake. I never even go in that section. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've met some chicks like, I posted. And I was like, I feel like that would be so dangerous, a bunch of random dudes, but whatever. They worked for some chicks. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I would if there's any last thing or any question or anything I want to say before we come to a close. I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. Well, no problem.
No, I think you gave a lot of really good advice, and you kind of opened the door into the life of a bull and what that looks like. So thank you for sharing all of that information with us and our listeners.
Thanks for having me. For real. I think it's like I said before, I listen to a lot of podcasts and just a lot of resources in general. And I see a lot of, things that are talking to couples, to single females and yada, yada. But I never really see any resources for bulls, And it is different, I think. I think it's a very different subset of the lifestyle, because you're dealing with the different couples than just
it's a different dynamic.
They're very different dynamic. So that's why I reached out, because I feel like, maybe I could be like some type of spokesperson, but I just felt like I at least want to open the dialogue to where it's like there are bulls out there, and people know that, but
Well, and it's nice to hear one talk for more than 5 minutes about what it is, and to actually get to get to know one. So I think we've really enjoyed it, and I hope everybody else has enjoyed it. And
definitely,
so thank you again for reaching out. And when you launch your podcast, let us know, and we'll tell everybody about it. So go find it.
Yeah, who knows? I really thought about doing that. I was like, what if I did launch a podcast where it kind of was speaking to the bulls, or single, not just necessarily just catering to bulls only, but really kind of focusing on like maybe bulls and unicorns, or just the single people that are in this,
Sure.
Yeah. So who knows?
That's one thing I wanted to ask you too. If somebody had questions for you, would you be open to answering them, or would you?
Absolutely. I do have people that actually hit me up. I can give you guys my kick. My kick is BGLA 2015. That's my kick.
Okay.
Feel free to hit me up, especially if you're in LA.
Yeah,
we will put it in the show notes so people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, cool. Or definitely. If they have questions for us or for you, that would be great.
Cool. And if you don't have a kick, I know a lot of people still aren't on that. I do have a separate email set up for that, which is bbcnla@icloud.com.
Okay.
So if you want to do an email,
we'll put that in the show notes as well then.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for being a good. So thank you for being a great voice in the community as well.
An ambassador.
Yeah.
Oh, an ambassador. Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you, and we will stay in touch and have a great evening.
You do the same.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
How'd your practicing go? We'll find out next week.
Yeah.
Thank you to Angus and Manaconda for guest starring in our podcast this week. And also one quick note, some of the information, the contact information that Angus gave for himself has changed. We talked to him a few days ago, and he asked us to update some of that information. So when you go to our show notes, if you want to get a hold of him, the information there will be correct.
Yes, use that information, please.
In the meantime, we will be back in 1 week with an interview with
a New Zealander.
A Kiwi.
Okay, a Kiwi.
I think that's the official term. And his name is Simon. He's the host of the A Slut podcast. And we have an awesome conversation with him about consent, BDSM, non-monogamy.
What?
Polyamory.
Yes.
And we have Emma trying to do advertisements again.
I hope so.
So we will see everybody in 1 week.
Yes. In the meantime, you can find us, as always, on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Thanks, everyone.